Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome back to another chit-chatty style video, whatever these are. Just me spewing my thoughts at the camera and seeing if any of it lands or resonates with you guys. Today I thought I would touch on a subject that I've been thinking about for a while, and it involves thinking about all the different roles that we play in life. Or if you're online and you're trying to build a presence online, it involves talking about the fact that you are a person and not a brand. So what happens when we put ourselves in these categories for whatever reason? Maybe it's to keep ourselves safe, maybe it's to please other people, or maybe it's to blow up online. When we put ourselves in these niches to appeal more readily to other people, what actually happens to us? And there's a few things that I've come up with, but I kind of wanted to talk about my experience of putting myself into a box to start with, because I'm sure, like most of us, life is a bit easier to explain when we can kind of categorize everything really neatly. And it's like, oh, this person is good, this person is bad. I'm in this box because I do these things, but I would never be in that box. And I think society is pretty well suited to creating these boxes for us to really easily slip in and fit in. But I just think it's not really fun. And I might not be phrasing it correctly, but I do think that these thoughts will resonate with a lot of us, because I used to have a podcast and I spoke to so many different amazing women. And the first question I would always ask them is, who are you? The answers that came out of their mouths were usually pretty similar. It was very role-based, and that's more than fine. But it was like, I'm a mom, I'm an athlete, I'm a chef, I'm a waitress. Those are 4 jobs that I can think of. You don't get another job apparently. If you're not one of those 4 things, I've never heard of you. I think it makes it really clear to us when we have these nice little areas or roles that we can fit ourselves into. But what happens when that changes? What happens when that role no longer fits you? If I give you an example of what I'm thinking about as I'm talking about all of this, I used to define myself as a really sporty person. I loved hockey. I was really good at it. I won so many awards for hockey. Yay. So I was going to be the athlete. I was gymming all the time. I was running. I was playing hockey. I was very fit. And then all of a sudden I had an injury that meant I couldn't do any of those things that helped me define who I was. My identity had been taken away from me, and then I had to completely figure out again what I was or who I was. That period of transition was really scary. It felt very vulnerable. And as dramatic as it may sound now, it felt like life was over because I was never going to get to do any of the things that I so truly loved again. And if we're going to get a little bit deeper, I do think that I have latched onto identities in the past that have been really fitting. When I was younger than my sporty phase, I certainly latched myself onto the fact that I was really struggling with food and eating disorders. And I honestly would have defined myself by that. I was the girl who struggled to eat, or I was the girl who ate less than you. And I mean, no points for guessing what would happen if I clung to that identity and truly held on to that. But that ending isn't necessarily happy. So what do we do when we no longer align with these roles that we've defined for ourselves, or with this brand that we've created online, or with this beautiful box that we fit so nicely into? Well, before we think about it, I invite you to have a look at the roles in your life. It could be personal, professional, it could be within your family or within your dating. I want you to think about the roles that you take on. Are you the caretaker? Do you define yourself purely as the mother? Are you the provider? What are these roles that you cling to? Because something that I've been learning recently, and again, this is not a novel thought, but it's something that is just kind of coming up for me and that I'm trying to embrace a little bit more moving forward. And that is the idea that as permanent as these wonderful things or these terrible things might feel, these things aren't forever. Everything that we're doing is temporary. So as we align ourselves in each of these boxes, how do we make sure that we do it from a place of non-attachment? And when I say non-attachment, I'm not meaning apathy. I don't mean that you should stop caring about the role that you've chosen to fulfill at this particular time. But what I mean by that is that I think we need to shift what we attach to. Again, I'm saying we, but I'm really speaking for myself here. But if this resonates with you, that's fantastic. I think, like I've mentioned, I've previously grounded myself in outside identities. I've grounded myself in people, in places. I've grounded myself in certain disciplines like exercise science. But all of these roles and all of these concepts cannot begin to make up the multitude of the person or the energy that you are. And I know we're going to go down a little bit of a hippie path, so I need you guys to bear with me for a second. But these things are temporary. So we need to ground ourselves in something more permanent. And the permanent things that we can ground ourselves in are not based on our external reality. They're based on what is happening inside of us. So things that I'm trying to define myself by, not define myself by, but ground myself in and to draw upon as my sense of stability are things like my self-love. I want to make sure that through hard times, times and through good times, that love that I have for myself is unwavering. It is strong and it is a clear support wherever I go, in whatever place I am in whatever job I'm in whatever title I choose to be, in whatever hobbies I'm doing. My self-love, my empathy, my compassion, those things are permanent, and those things are where I'm going to try and ground myself. Because really, like I said, your likes, your dislikes, your jobs, your relationships, we could do it for years and years and years, but there will come a time when those things change, or they move on, or we change and we no longer align with those things. So if we're purely hanging on to the fact that we're an accountant and we're only ever going to be an accountant is who I am on the inside, it's what dictates all of my life choices, what happens when it doesn't? Coming back to myself for a second, as soon as I got injured and I was no longer able to define myself from the perspective of an athlete or from the perspective of somebody who worked out a lot or was super fit, I shifted just slightly and I went into exercise science. I collected so many different certificates. I'm level 1 and 2 British weightlifting coach. I'm a fitness nutrition specialist. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm a level 1 and 2 Australian Strength and Conditioning Association accredited. I'm an accredited exercise and sports scientist. I have all of these things, and then that was my identity for a really, really long time. And now, again, I've gone through a massive period of transition. I still love all of those things. I still have the physical and mental ability to do all of those things, but I'm finding it's not encompassing enough, or rather it's too black and white. And I think academia is kind of like that, like we're searching for the correct solution. And I know that sports science is very individual in that how I program for you is going to be different for how I program for me. But within that, there are really particular rules and programs and structures that we have to follow. So what happens when we are super fit on the outside? What happens to our insides? Like, I love exploring that side of things. But I think that if I really tightly held onto that exercise and sports science persona, and if I held onto that for my whole life, then I would never have investigated and tried to learn more about myself. I would never be going down this path of kind of connecting the two and of learning about my inner and my outer health. I think that exercise and sports science can really clearly separate mind and body, but I'm just interested in like collectively helping people to be strong and confident inside and out. Like, that sounds amazing to me. Another reason for this shift and for my thinking about whether or not you're a person or you're a job or you're a person or a brand is the fact that I haven't been able to work in my chosen field for the last year or so. I haven't been able to work in exercise science. So it's been a massive shift. It's been like, who am I? Do I even actually want to do this? Or did I just pick this up as a reason to try and cling to my athlete persona? And I think probably a little bit of both. I think that I love sports science and I love learning about it, but then I also do think that I am super clinging onto that side of things where I want to be the fittest person in the room. I think that's a part of me that's still there. But I think learning to open to other possibilities and learning to open yourself to be aware of the roles that you're playing in society. But I think by grounding myself in the certain idea of who I am rather than grounding myself in more permanent structures like my self-love and my compassion, it does block you off to other opportunities. If I'm so rigid in my role as an exercise scientist, why would I ever explore spirituality? Really? Because there's such clear evidence that exercise affects the mind and it helps the mind get better. It reduces anxiety and depression and all of those things. But what happens when we have super fit people? What happens when we have athletes who still suffer from all of those things, anxiety and depression? Like, clearly exercise is not enough. So clinging to that role and clinging to that one perspective is blocking me, and it's disconnecting me from learning more, and it's cutting me off from the infinite amount of possibilities that could occur or different paths that I could go down. And if you're watching this and you're like, that kind of resonates, but I'm pretty comfortable with where I am at right now, well, I love that for you. I think that that's incredible. I do think it is worth exploring what the current narratives you have in your life are. Is it that you have to be a really good person and you have to be a caretaker of others because you think they won't like you otherwise? Or is it because that's coming from a place of love? Do you have to work out 6 times a week? Or is it that you're working out 6 times a week because you're worried that otherwise you're going to be out of shape and unlovable? Like, where are these thoughts coming from? I want you to just dive a little bit deeper into your mind or into your actions. Just be an observer. I want you to think about why you're behaving in the way you're behaving. Do you really just want to talk about fitness stuff online? Or is it that we've created this really beautiful bubble bubble for you to do that. And now speaking about something that feels authentic to you is really scary because it's different to what you've done for so long. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm already kind of going through a lot of these explorations. I started off only posting fitness content, but honestly, I realized that that's not all I want to talk about. That's not all I want to do. I want to share all of my personality. I want to be authentic with you guys because I think that when people are able to be authentic and vulnerable, it encourages other people to do the same. I feel like that's pretty fulfilling, and I want other people to be able to do those things. So this is kind of a long video for me to just say, expect nothing from this channel. I'm going to be posting a bunch of different content because I'm a person, I'm not a brand. I'm allowed to make mistakes. I'm allowed to try different things, and I'm going to try my best to take accountability when I make those mistakes, but I'm also going to keep exploring the different avenues and ideas that I love. Like if I want to talk about fitness and get super sciencey with you guys, I'm going to do that. But if I also want to switch up and go down that other route and talk about spirituality and wellness, then we might go down that route as well. What I want for all of you today, and for myself, is just a reminder, is that we have a choice, and we are not the narratives that we write for ourselves. We're not the roles that we create. We're not the brands that we create online. We're not these personas. We are limitless. It's nearly impossible to define us, and all of these things are temporary. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to try and think about the things that stay constant throughout. I want you to find that essence of yourself that is unchanging. These identities that we create for ourselves to make us more lovable, to make us more hireable, any of these things, that is not the totality of us. We are the changeless force that is beneath all of these masks and these identities. We are the constant self-love, compassion, empathy. We are the power underneath all of those things. We are what make the masks and identities possible. So how can one identity or role or narrative define us? It can't. And I know that was probably a lot of waffle, but that is something that I've been thinking about recently. I have been thinking about how I've latched on to so many different identities in my life. I've latched on to so many different personas, but I really am trying to find something that's more eclectic. And again, the eclecticness might change. I actually wrote something a while ago that I think kind of talks about who I am. And I think that kind of like highlights the eclectic nature of what I'm trying to get across, and the fact that I don't want to do one thing, and I am not going to be defined by one thing. So I wanted to share that with you guys now on what I wrote previously. I want to help people become more confident in themselves inside and out through the combination of authentic movement and connection to the self. I want to spend my life learning about myself and encouraging others to do the same. I will never be finished. I want to explore the science and debunk products and ideas designed to make us feel ashamed and disconnected from our intuition, our values, and our physical bodies. I want to be a safe space and to help others become their own safe space. I will teach others how to use movement of all kinds to become the most powerful version of themselves. My expertise allows me to do this safely and effectively, and I want to share this gift with everyone. I want to help others make choices that align with who they are sustainable, and give them the freedom to choose and be whoever they want. I want to help people lift heavy things, connect with their hearts, jump higher, feel safe enough to cry, and discover their power to create the life they've always wanted. I do not want to pick one thing and define myself only by that. I am everything, and so are you. But to kind of sum everything up, I just wanted to say that it's frightening to step outside of a box, whether that box has been created by you, people around you, society, whatever. It's scary to try something new, and it's scary to embrace change in that way. But you are not this role that you've created for yourself or that other people have created for you. You're not a brand that you've created for yourself. You're a person, and you're allowed to explore different things, try different things, make mistakes, jump, learn, fail, cry, smile. You can do everything, and it's okay if you really resonate with the roles that you're currently in. That is fantastic. But I just want you to try and start resonating with what's inside of you. Resonating with that unchanging, unbelievably powerful force that you are. And I think by us expanding ourselves and through leading by example and showing everybody else that we can be powerful and strong and we can be eclectic and everything, then other people might feel empowered to do the same thing. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you have an amazing, amazing week ahead, and I will see you all next time. I put out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Be kind to yourselves. Bye.